Section 3.6. In this section, you will see a question like this. Circle true or false for each statement. This is the correctly written chromatic scale beginning on D. To do this question, it will be easier if we take out our little keyboard here. By definition, chromatic scale is a scale that covers all the semitones in an octave. In this case, we start with the D in the bass clef, which means this key on the keyboard. And for this to be a correctly written chromatic scale, we should check it against the keyboard to ensure that all the semitones are covered. So we start from a D and D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, and back to D, an octave higher. So in this case, this is a correct chromatic scale because it has all the semitones covered, and the answer is true. Here's another example question. In this case, a chromatic scale starting on E sharp. In addition to what I just said about the chromatic scale having to cover all the semitones, there are three additional rules. The first is that it shouldn't have any enharmonic equivalents. Second, it should start and end on the same note. Lastly, there should be no three-letter names in a row. Now, looking at this second example here, we start on the note E sharp, and then it's followed by the F, which means it's already a wrong scale because these are enharmonic equivalents, and that means it has violated the first rule. For the purpose of practice, let's see if there are any more mistakes in this chromatic scale. So from where we left off, the F going to the F sharp and then the G flat, and here is another enharmonic equivalent, the F sharp and the G flat, and that also violates the first rule. And now if we keep going, the G flat to the G sharp. Now here's another problem, because as we have established before, a chromatic scale should cover all the semitones, and now in this case we are even skipping one note, so it doesn't even make it to our free root check. And let's keep going. G sharp to A, and then we have A sharp and A double sharp. Now although all these A's are on different keys, the A sharp and A double sharp, according to rule number 3, we should not have three-letter names in a row. And in this case, we do have three-letter names, the A, in a row. And so this is another mistake in this scale again, because it violates rule number 3. And now let's continue from the A double sharp, which is followed by the B sharp, and the C sharp, and D, E, and now here we have another missing note between the D and the E. We are supposed to have the black note between them. So this is just another missing semitone, as in the earlier case. And finally, we have F. Now looking at the very last note, the F, and comparing it to the very first note, the E sharp, although they lie at the same position in the keyboard, the F key, the fact that they are enharmonic equivalents makes it a mistake again. Remember also we have rule number 2. A chromatic scale should start and end on the same note. In this case, it started on an E sharp and ended on an F, so that violates rule number 2 as well. And so the answer to this question is definitely false. So here it is. It's not the most difficult question as long as you are detail oriented and patient enough to check the scales against the rules. If you're looking for some more practice, I'll highly recommend that you visit this interactive site where I've put together a lot of practice tests and mock papers with instant feedback. In the drill mode, you'll have access to all the questions section by section, so that you can focus on specific question types and practice them until you feel confident. There are virtually unlimited questions. In the exam mode, you have access to full papers in the exact format of the exam with randomized questions each time. You have 2 hours to finish the complete paper, at the end of which you'll be given your score and feedback.